Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PromoCorner. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, and I'm joined today by three other lovely folks. But of course, before we get to them, we got to tell you about our fine sponsors for today, our good friends over at Bell Promo. Look, Bell Promo is the home of the 12-piece minimum on everything. They offer simplified pricing, one low setup, and never repeat setups, regardless of the number of colors, locations, or decoration method. Bell Promo has the largest inventory of product styles and colors, and in top categories like drinkware, bags, writing instruments, and apparel. Bell Promo offers free samples and was one of the 2021 best places to work. Be the reason someone smiles today and check out bellpromo.com. That's BELPROMO.com. Tell them the Industry Insider sent you. Why don't we say hey to Stephen McFadden? That was an interesting book you were reading there, sir. What was that?
I'm currently on the chapter of animals that will kill you. It's a survival tactic book. It says 72 survival tactics that you hope you never need. And was brushing up on Bengal tigers, I think was the one I was on. So
too soon?
Sorry. I was reading about the grizzly bears. I didn't see the connection until just now.
I shouldn't be laughing. Meg Erber, how are you
Rewind.
doing?
It's January 4th. It is my mom and dad's anniversary. I'm 40-something, so they're 40-something married years. So congratulations, happy anniversary, whatever. It's weird being back to work after being off for so long. I'm like, whoa. So yeah, but I'm happy. I'm excited for Vegas next week.
Yeah, it definitely was not super fun getting back to the grind. That's for sure. After taking, 8-10 days off, something like that over the holidays. Well needed, that's for sure. But look, we are joined today by a very special guest, Paul Kory, and we're going to talk about that grind. But before we get into that, we're gonna talk to Paul. And look, Paul, it is customary for us to give our special guest a good 3 to 4 minutes to introduce themselves, maybe how you got started in the promotional products industry, and what you've been up to since. So, take it away, sir.
Sure. Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I don't want to give away the years I've been doing this. That would really date me. So let's just say it's been quite a while. I started in the industry with a company called GPA Associates, and we sold writing instruments for Papermate, Parker, and it was based in Boston, Massachusetts. And for me, coming from consumer products, it was quite a bit different. I didn't really know what promo goods were. And then I got back to my house and I started walking around my house and taking a look at all the stuff that had logos on it. And I was like, holy smokes. What an industry. You go through and look from drinkware to pens to frisbees to apparel to caps. It's just amazing how we provide all this cool stuff for our customers, and then they obviously sell to the end user. But I'll give you, it's been about 30 years since I've been doing this. And I didn't really want to do that.
The industry. I thought you did. I thought you were like the co-creator of the promotional product industry.
You know what? I wake up every day and I know we've all been off, and I took December off. My daughter had a baby, which was very exciting, and she happens to be in the industry too, and so does my other daughter who works with Meg at S&S. So it's truly a family business. But I was home for a month, and I'm chomping at the bit to go. And you guys talked about Las Vegas. Well, I'm leaving today to go to Orlando for ASI. So it's just, for me, it's just great to see people again, to be back out in front of people, especially after 2020 when we were staying at home and doing all these Zoom calls. And you guys started your little show, which I think is great. But getting back to me, it's been almost 30 years, and I've sold hard goods for Papermate. I've worked for Leeds Bullet Line. I've worked for Vantage. I've worked for Ash City. And now I'm the VP of Business Development at Burnside Sierra Pacific Apparel, based in Houston, Texas. I work for great people. It's a family business. They've been in business for 55 years. And unlike a lot of people in this industry, I cover not only the United States, but I also handle Europe and Canada. So I get to go overseas and do my trade shows over there and meet people. And I've just been blessed. It's been 30 years of just having a really good time, working with friends. You know, in any industry, you're going to have a little issues here and there, but I can say that 95% of the people I meet are just unbelievable people. You want to get up every day and help them. And I know I'm looking at my emails already piling up here on Tuesday morning, but that's what gets me going. So I really am glad that you guys had me on and I could share a little bit of influence or pass a little influence along to everybody on kind of what I do.
Yeah, so that's really why we wanted to talk, because, you know, Stephen, this was your idea for the topic. So I don't know if you want to take it from here, but essentially it's just the amount of travel and stuff that suppliers go through, especially this time of year.
Yeah, I know, you know, from the distributor perspective, you know, I have to assume that our travel is probably much less than from the supplier perspective. I know that, you know, personally, all I know is what I do, but when I see the frequency of the out of office messages or the delayed response messages from the suppliers, I'm like, let's bring that to light a little bit. Like, let's share a little bit about what the first quarter looks like for a supplier, because, you know, we hear about it when we go to the one trade show, right? And we meet with you all and you're like, we just landed from this place and we're about to turn around and go to this place. And we're like, holy smokes, how much are you traveling? So, I just thought it would be cool to do a little Q&A. Maybe you guys can tell us a little bit of the behind the scenes of, you know, this grind you guys are about to embark on starting today and tomorrow. So maybe that's how we kick it off. I know Orlando is this week. Vegas is next week. There's regional shows that'll kick off then throughout. There's made shows like Facilis has their show at the end of February. There's IPU shows, there's AMA there's so many shows that are packed into it seems like the first 3 months. So maybe shed a little bit about like what that looks like what's your schedule like the next 2-3 months, guys?
I will say, before you guys hop into this, last year it was a little off still, right? It wasn't as much travel. It started to pick up. But I feel like everybody had moved every event, every party, everything to October. So whereas normally I would travel here and there, pretty much didn't travel all year until October, and then I was gone the entire month. So I think this year it's spread out. I think people are planning a little bit better this year, and I mean, from starting next week, I'm gone once a month. I think, for, you know, including my own little trips that I'm taking. But it's gonna be crazy. And I know we've covered topics before like this, like, oh, what's your rituals? Like, you know, you guys said something last week. Hey, don't forget your neti pot, because I won't. But Paul, so you're starting this week, going to Orlando, then Vegas. Do you have any pre-travel rituals? Do you have anything that you like do every time you travel? How does that look?
So first off, Meg, great job in October at the Sagney show. You guys did a really, really good job getting people to come out there. It was probably one of the better shows that I did last year. So hats off to you and the whole group at Sagney.
Thank you.
I think last year I did 48 shows. So if that's any indication of where I've been and what I've been doing, it's crazy. And I'm sitting in here right now looking at my calendar. And for January, and I leave today to go to Orlando, and I'll be doing 2 shows there: the Surf Show and ASI Orlando. I get back on Friday, and then I leave again Sunday to head out to Las Vegas for the PPAI show, which I'm excited to go out there again. I mean, everybody, I think a lot of people now are just geared up to do trade shows again. After COVID, people were really, like you said, Meg, they were staying home, trying to get a feel for what's going on. But I think this year the gloves are off and people are going to be back on the streets and hitting the airports. So for me, that's really exciting. And then I leave and come back on Thursday. And then I leave Monday to go to Ohio to do traveling shows through Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland. And from Cleveland, I leave and fly to Long Beach that same week for the ISS show, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then I come back on Monday and leave Tuesday to do the ASI show in Fort Worth. And that's on Wednesday and Thursday. And then from there, I leave and go to Carolina Maid's open house on the 27th and 28th in Charlotte. Come back on the 29th. And then the 31st, I leave, or I'm in here in Atlanta to do the Gap show, which is a regional association show that attracts about 600 people. And then from there, I leave and go to Alfred Broder's open house in Connecticut, up at the Foxwoods or one of the casinos up there. And then I come back on the 4th and I need to do American Business Relations in Nashville.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys, kind of all three of you, in the first 3 months, how many days are you home versus away? I think that would be a good place to kind of boil it down to.
Yep. So in January, I'm home 4 days.
It's all of January?
It's gone, right? I mean, and you know what? I push it to the limit. My company doesn't make me do all these shows. But in order to get exposure for my brand, when we do have our wholesalers like S&S and Alfred Broder, but I just feel that it's imperative that I'm at these shows to spread the love and get all my products out there. And when you're doing regional, local shows, you get a lot of the mom and pops or the middle tier customers. And they're the ones who do a lot of the buying and they don't go to the big shows. So I'm able to capture that business there. But Meg asked me a question of how do I prepare? I have 3 sample kits that have pop-up booths, samples tagged, catalogs, table covers. And I'm shipping these all over the United States. And I ship them into my hotel, set up for the trade show. Then I ship that one to another show. And then I just keep moving on down the line. But Stephen, I think I'm home 16 days the first 3 months of the year.
Jeff, Meg, what about you all? Because I know you guys are doing some of the mega shows.
I'm home more than that, but not.
Well, sure.
I know
January, a lot more,
but
yeah.
No, believe it or not, in January it was supposed to be that way. But that was because there was a personal trip that we were supposed to take in there as well. That's not happening now. A friend of ours is getting married in Guatemala, and we were going to head down there for a week for the wedding, but that's not happening. So I guess I'm home a week longer than Paul in January.
But still, that's half of January you're not home.
Yeah, more than half that I'm not home.
And
I'd say 60% maybe of the
geez.
first 3 months. I'm gone.
Muted Meg. That's your new nickname.
Muted Meg. Oh, and Steven, since she's muted, I see one of those Bengal tigers in the background there that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Careful.
Careful.
All right, Meg. Answer the question.
Okay,
first 3 months. Give us the percentage or days.
Mine is nowhere near like Paul's. I used to travel like that when I was with Jetline, but national-wise, I'm very secluded to South Jersey, Philadelphia area. So I only have my regionals and the big Vegas show. But S&S is having their national sales meeting in January. March. That's how this is already going. March we have a couple of things. I know. I'm like, So I'm nowhere near as much as Paul, and I'm so thankful. I just don't think I have that in my bandwidth anymore. I don't. I love traveling, but after not traveling like I used to for the last 3 years, it's like I like to wear sweatpants.
Well, one of the
like
things
every day.
You guys are young. You should be able to get out there. I'm telling you. I think we need to talk about something too, that the effectiveness of trade shows.
I was going to ask you that because that was a question that I had. I mean, as much as you're gone on as many shows as you just listed off, and the cost of some of these shows and the oversaturation of some of these shows, like how do you actually decide what shows to do and the effectiveness or the efficacy of those shows, based on the ROI? Like, what are you doing to measure that? Why is it worth doing what you're doing, Paul?
I mean, it's a good question, and it's a question my owners ask me all the time. Obviously, like you alluded to, I'm spending money to fly there for the hotel. Sometimes just my bar tab alone would put somebody, in holy terror. But I can do this. I've been doing most of these shows, the big regionals like ASI, PPAI, and then like PPAP and Gap and all those. Those kind of just qualify themselves because it's the beginning of the year and a lot of people are not traveling anymore to Vegas, especially in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and the Southeast. So I really try to focus on those areas, the beginning part of the year, because they're not going to get the attention that they would get if they're going to Las Vegas for PPAI. I track a lot of my movement by samples that I give out to people. I take business cards, I scan the customers, and it's a pain in the butt, but pretty much every night I go back to my hotel room and I send follow-up emails to all of these customers, just reminding them of what we talked about and what can I do to get more of your business. And if I get 10 to 20% of that back to me, it's well worth it, because there's no way in one day, Jeff, that I'm doing a little trade show in Columbus, Ohio, and I see 35 people and I have 7 great conversations that could lead to orders or program business. There's no way I could do that making a sales call, not in one day. And when I do my regional shows with my buddies, I also am there for a week. So the show might be Tuesday and Wednesday, but Thursday and Friday, I'll be out making calls in that area to the bigger customers. So I'm kind of doing a 2-for-1 deal when I do the smaller shows. And they have just paid off. I mean, as a company, we're up 45% last year, which I think is awesome. We have great wholesalers like S&S, Alpha Broder, Mission and Printables, One Stop. The list goes on and on. But you guys, especially somebody like Meg, she's got 60 brands of apparel. There's no way that Meg can go out at a trade show and talk about all the brands and talk about my brand. I've got to be there to push my apparel through our wholesalers. And the only way I know how to do that and maximize my time to be effective and see a large group of people are doing small regional shows, traveling shows with groups of people. Like in Meg's area there, they do, it's called NERA, and they go up and down the East Coast. And we did shows outside when it was COVID. People were still afraid. We did shows in rain and wind and 95 degrees. But the people that came out there really appreciated what we did. And they also appreciate that I follow up with them, because a lot of people can talk the talk, but when they get back home, they just unfortunately drop the ball. I just follow all the way through, and then I've got an inside team that follows up too. So I think we're getting the biggest bang for our buck when we do these events.
Nice.
Well, one of the things I wanted to make sure we chatted about was some of the logistics of setting up, right? So obviously you have a ton of shows. You just mentioned smaller shows, regional shows. So, but then I know from Jeff and Meg, I'm looking at the dates here. There's 72 hours between breakdown day and setup day between Orlando and Vegas, which are East and West Coast. Right. And we're talking, these displays are massive, for anyone that hasn't experienced trying to set up a trade show booth, especially in a union town, especially with regulations. Nothing moves very fast. Like once it gets in there, it's a process. And so just in my head, I'm thinking I could barely I missed my flight because I couldn't get a tag fast enough to get a reclaim ticket to turn in a thing. How are you going to not miss a trade show, in 72 hours? So, Paul, I'd love your perspective on, what type of setup you have as you go to these places, and how do you keep so mobile? And then Jeff and Meg, if you guys have any insight on the behind the scenes of this Orlando to Vegas timeline, I'd be curious to know.
I don't know how people are keeping
Paul?
their same booth from Orlando to Vegas. I have no idea how they're not doing 2 different booths. I just don't
Is that
know
what it is? It's two separate setups? It's got to be, right?
No, the Freeman Caravan, which is expensive, but I mean that's who handles both shows. So they're actually going. They're taking all the freight basically from Orlando to Vegas. I don't know how the hell they're doing it in 48 hours because it's not even 72 when you really think about it. Because you're talking about the end of Friday and then the beginning of Monday. It's really Saturday and Sunday. It's got to get there in 2 days. Yeah. It's insane. Paul, what do you guys do?
So I'm really blessed that we have an internal team that for our bigger trade shows, they handle all the logistics. So for Orlando, we're going to have a smaller footprint there. I think we've only got like a 10 by 20, which that's shipped out separately. All the clothes are steamed, they're hung. The catalogs are there. The trade show chairs and the backdrop and everything is there. And when we leave, we just box that up and then we're going to reship that to ASI Fort Worth. So we have a set of booths for ASI, and then we have our big trade show booth, which we just keep in Las Vegas because we also do other trade shows. We're also a retail company. So we do like Magic and we do off brands. So that's booth just stays stationary there. And we ship it into Freeman, like you alluded to, Jeff, and they set it up. And we just got to come in and decorate a little bit. So logistically, that's not a problem. Where you run into problems, and I'm a little unique just because I cover the United States, is when I've got to ship, when I do a trade show and it's over on Friday and I've got one starting Tuesday, I've got to air freight some of that stuff to the hotel. And that's where I run into some issues as far as cost. And hoping and praying, my fingers crossed that this stuff gets there. And with the catalog looking like an idiot, but it's very challenging, and I've just been doing it for so many years that I look at my schedule and I lay everything out in December for the first 4 months, and I get with our internal team and we go show by show by show what we're going to do so that we don't miss anything. Because usually in my company, not to ramble on, but they ship all the catalogs and they ship some of the booths. I ship all the clothing and the smaller stuff from my home.
Makes sense.
That's really where I benefit, working for a headwear company, because doing the smaller shows, traveling from place to place, I can actually throw everything into one checked suitcase. Basically I made my own sort of wooden stands that go on one side of the suitcase, and then the hats, I mean, they're very collapsible and stackable, so they all fit on the other side of the suitcase. I mean, it's pretty amazing, actually. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing that you don't really consider is that when you're doing all those shows like Paul, that you're doing, the 8 to 5 still has to happen, so you had mentioned like you're going back to the hotel room and you're working then in the evenings as well. I mean, it's a grueling grind, that's not really thought about a lot of times. And to give you an example of the logistics. No, good.
Go ahead. No, that Vegas is like 22-hour days. You're there in the booth, 10 hours, and then it's like dinners and going out, and then you come home and you're expected to be like, oh, you were in Vegas all week. I was working.
Yeah, why haven't I heard from you from that conversation we had yesterday in Vegas? It's like, how many of those emails have you got?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like, you saw me at the bar until 2 a.m. That's why you haven't heard from me.
Right?
So, I was with you, right?
But to give you an idea on the logistics, like you were asking about earlier, Stephen, I know going from Orlando to then, coming back and then flying back out to Vegas, I'm actually was planning on going out to LA that weekend as well. So and there's no flights. Like, here's the thing that sucks so much about these shows is that once the show ASI Orlando is over at 2:30.
Yep.
They don't start bringing booths out until 3:30, and it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours after that point that you get your crate. And then you got to pack everything up in the crate, get it labeled, get your bill of lading and all that stuff taken care of before you can even leave the premises. So how do you book a flight? I mean, you either got to stay the night again in Orlando, or you got to book the latest flight out, which sometimes is only 7 or 8 o'clock. So you're really cutting it close a lot of times. Like, I got the latest flight out of Orlando at 8 o'clock coming back to Baltimore, and I'm sleeping in my car for 3 hours and then going back to the airport to fly out to LA the next morning. I mean,
Yeah, so I was at a show in San Diego, and we had the show ended at like 2. Same thing. I had a 9:30 flight, and I was like, I'm good. We didn't get our crate until 10:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 8 hours of like hanging out and like checking in, and they're like, well, we got a lot of crates. I mean, it's a huge show. I was like, is this how it is? Like, is this how it is? A dozen times for you all with these big shows? I don't have the stomach for it. Like that's, or I would need a team. I would need people to help me do it. I can't do it as an individual person.
So there's a couple things I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's a couple things you can do. I have a tendency to walk back in the warehouse and look for my crates, and then happen to have a 50 or a 20 in my hand and give it to one of the tow lift drivers to bring my stuff out quicker. Mm-hmm. Then we've learned that we are shipping in crates. So now we just ship in boxes and we ship in new boxes that are just flat on the pallets. And we store pallets behind people's booths, behind our booth. And so that when the show's over, we're laying the pallets out, we're building boxes, we're stacking our stuff, we're shrink wrapping it, and we're out in an hour and a half. So you get to learn some tricks of the trade. Because I've been stuck too, and I've missed flights and had to get up the next morning when I should have been in another city, but I'm still stuck in San Diego or in Long Beach. And I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. So you got to grease the wheel sometimes to get stuff to make it happen. You really do.
I like that idea.
That is something that we used to do, actually, store the pallet behind the booth and when we were shipping our stuff in boxes. But the new setup that we've had for the last 5 or 6 years, it's in a big wooden crate. There's no way to really store that behind the booth. So it really depends on what your setup is as well. Mm-hmm. And we're actually considering going back to a model like that, not only for, the efficacy of, not wasting the time after the show, but then also just the freight itself, and then dealing with, the extortion that Freeman and these other companies charge you with. It's insane. I don't know if I mentioned this, Megan. I don't know if you know this, but the company that handled, because we had mentioned Promo East, the company that handled that convention center was straight up extortion. They charged $2,500 just to handle the material. It was insane to take it from the advanced warehouse to the show floor. That's
the drayage and all that. Yeah. Well, I would say, there's this constant battle, and I know we're trying to wrap up, but you have to think, like, from the distributor side, we're like, what are you bringing new? Like, how are you going to engage us? And it's always something we talk about. Like, we want trade shows that are engaging and they're fun, and it's not just the simple setups. And then on the flip side, you have to look at what's the logistics of that look like. What did it take logistically for the house that Numo built, and logistically for the HPG, game show thing that they created, and these giant setups. Logistically, those are nightmares, if you think about it. Like, so, we want the best of both worlds. But I think if there's a PSA to be given, there needs to be a little bit of grace from the distributor side, right? To the suppliers, and understanding the full piece of this, right? The delayed response, which is inevitable because they're meeting with you and people like you. There's travel time in between, there's setup time in between. So hopefully this kind of gives some perspective to that, and we can relax just a little bit.
Simmer down.
Yeah.
I have a question, Stephen.
Yeah.
I don't know how many trade shows that you do in your area or that you attend, but are you finding those shows of value to you as a distributor, or do you feel that it's a waste of time and you're just walking around not getting any information, any new ideas, or seeing any new products?
So how many do I go to, or how many do we exhibit at personally as a company?
Right. That you exhibit at.
That we exhibit at?
Yeah.
So our company exhibits at 2 a year, and they're very niche for kind of some of our growth, and they are incredibly valuable. We'll have we'll make back what we've put into these trade shows within 30 days, like easily. And the one show, I mean, I know you guys have talked about expensive shows. I don't mind saying this because they don't probably listen to this podcast, but the one show we do is a 10 by 10 booth and it's $20,000, but it's a C-level show. And it's all the right type of people, and it's amazing for us. So we'd spend double that if we needed to. But if, it's a cost of doing business, right? It's a very expensive cost to do business, but it's a good show.
So what about personally when you're walking around just doing regional shows or travel shows in your area? How effective are those shows to you?
So I'll go to Vegas, and I will go to, so we're part of Facilis, so we'll go to the Facilis trade show, where they bring in the preferred suppliers for that. And then we'll have people visit us in our showroom. So we don't do very many shows. We have done several regional shows, and we've also done East and things like that. We find that the timing of them is more how we choose to go to shows. So we'll choose one in the beginning of the year, right? So it used to be Orlando, then it became Vegas because it was just a more valuable show in our opinion. So we would use that as our kickoff. And then as we kind of take a pulse, are we feeling drained of ideas? Are we feeling like we need to meet with people? Have we not had that opportunity? And if so, then we'll look at what shows are coming up in that time frame to kind of rejuvenate us and give us some more help, and then reach out to our partners to figure out, hey, are you around? Are you going to be at any of these shows? Would it be valuable if we set up a meeting with you? Things like that. So,
okay.
Interesting. And I know, for me, I think going to these trade shows is so beneficial to get in front of customers that I may not get to see all year.
Mm-hmm.
And the big shows are great. I love going. I haven't done a regional show since we did outside shows with Near during COVID. I don't think. And I don't really have an answer as to why. I know I need to get back and do them. I think I've been so busy otherwise that I haven't had a moment to deal with the smaller shows. But I don't know. This year I feel like we might be able to get back into doing them. I just haven't. But yeah.
Cool.
And I'm really looking forward to Vegas. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody. I didn't go last year because I was sick. So I am really looking forward to forging those connections and relationships and seeing everybody I haven't seen and getting away from this cat. And I did say, so the hardest part is family, right? The hardest part is leaving family, especially when you haven't left for so long. Like October was really rough for everybody last year. And looking out, in my crystal ball, it's going to be a tough year this year too with all the travel. But I think what's really neat is finding different ways to, bringing home stuff. Or, for instance, we're doing our podcast live from the show floor in Las Vegas, which is really exciting. So I think it's airing at 1 o'clock Vegas time and 4 o'clock our time. So I was telling Adeline, I'm like, when you get off the bus, come right inside and turn on the computer and you can see mommy. And she thinks it's so cool. She thinks I'm famous. So
this will be the first time that all three of us have been live at a show together to do a podcast since the first year that we were doing the podcast. You guys realize that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Jeff hasn't been to Vegas in so long. He has to Google Maps eye candy.
Yeah, I don't remember where it's at. Is it even still called eye candy?
You'll find out when you get there, Jeff.
That place needs to go away. Let me tell you, I've had some good times there and some really rough times the next morning after what happened that night. So yeah. I'm sure I'll be there.
There's a time of diminishing returns. That's what I'd like to say. So, yeah.
Well,
all right.
I wish
you
all safe. I was going to say, I wish you guys safe travels. I know you guys are leaving for Orlando today, tomorrow. So, and then I'll see a lot of you again in Vegas. So good luck with this stretch ahead. But I appreciate you guys shedding some insight.
I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate what you do. You guys are fun. You're educational. And we need more of that. I mean, like I said earlier on, our industry is filled with good people, and we do a lot of good for a lot of companies. And, it's nice. It's a good business. Both of my daughters are in it, and we all enjoy it. And I thank you again for having me on.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, Paul. Thank you.
It was definitely a pleasure. And I love both your daughters. I work with Morgan, and I remember the first time I got to meet Megan at some events, and I was like, oh, I got all the Korys now. Love it.
I haven't seen Megan in forever. I'm assuming, well, I'll see her in Vegas.
No, she's not going to be there.
She's not.
No, she's going to stay home this time with the little baby. So she's not going to be back to work until March. So,
I gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, she's going to miss it.
Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Do you go by Grandpa, Grampy, Pop-Up? What's your Pop-Up
I haven't quite figured that out. I don't know. We'll see what he calls me. Hopefully it's something good.
Completely understandable. Well, listen, this broadcast is brought to you by our good friends over at Bell Promo. Again, they're the home of the 12-piece minimum on everything, and they offer simplified pricing, one low setup, and never repeat setups, regardless of the number of colors, locations, or decoration method. Bell Promo has the largest inventory of products, styles, and colors, and in top categories like drinkware, bags, writing instruments, and apparel. Bell Promo offers free samples and was one of the 2021 best places to work. So be the reason someone smiles today, and go check them out at bellpromo.com and tell them the Industry Insider sent you. Guys, really appreciate you. Hopefully we'll see you. Well, I guess we'll see you next week for sure in Vegas, right?
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, I think I'm having dinner with Paul on Monday, aren't I?
You are. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, good deal. Well, until next time, guys, we'll see you. Take care.
You.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.